realize I'm going to have to change that text because it still says this is a new initiative. But Drupal Commerce has been going since 2009 now, so it's almost 2 years old, which is hard to believe. Take me just a moment to get connected here. I was telling the guys I'm a little bit out of sorts this morning because I forgot my favorite travel shampoo and conditioner, but I did remember my dental floss. So if anybody listened to the Lullaby podcast, I have a soft spot in my heart for flossers and flossing and dental hygienists. So let's go on to the actual topic of the morning. International collaboration on Drupal Commerce. Oh, one sec, sorry. I did the view slideshow instead of view presenter tools and I was missing my notes. We're talking about international collaboration on Drupal Commerce 1.0 and VGA displays. Try 3. How boring. Yeah, it was going away? Jiminy Christmas. And that I didn't get enough sleep last night, apparently. Let's close this down. Full good. That Drupal Commerce rocks. And also that international collaboration rocks. I love the Drupal community because it's taken me all over Europe and all over the United States. And hopefully next year, maybe to South America and maybe to Asia in the years come. So I'm pretty excited about what I get to do with professionals from around the world every day. And I wanted to just come share what we've done and how we've made it happen and with whom we've made it happen by looking not just at the project itself, but at what it took to bring the project to 1.0. So just for a bit of history, if you aren't familiar with e-commerce on Drupal, it's been around for some time. It started back in like Drupal 4.6 or maybe earlier with the e-commerce project that was started by Matt Westgate out of Lullabot, if Lullabot even existed at the time, I can't remember. But they got up and peaked to around 800 installs on Drupal 5. That was in 2008, about the time that UberCart was starting to take off. And so UberCart went from 2 to over 20,000 installs, as Dave mentioned, during the course of 2009. I think now it's up to about 35,000. So it got really broad use and acceptance. And Commerce Guys was actually formed, building and supporting UberCart sites during, I guess, around DrupalCon DC was when I joined, but they've been doing their thing for about a year prior. And I think they actually, Mike and Tim, came with me to the first ever Uber camp down in Kentucky, where we really didn't do much coding at all. We just hung out on a boat on a lake, riding wave runners and eating a ton of meat that they carted down from Michigan. That's where Commerce Guys came from and how we got started with UberCart. But then again, as Dave mentioned, we split out to Drupal Commerce. That was late 2009, early 2010. And now we hit 1.0 at DrupalCon London. We're up to about, really cool. We're up to about 4,300 sites now that are reporting into Drupal.org at least. So, you know, half of those are dev sites and maybe 500 of them are my dev sites. But for whatever it is, you know, 4,000 sites reporting into Drupal.org that they're using Drupal Commerce. And so that's nothing to shake a stick at because this is still new technology. 1.0 in August. And we had people launching sites on the alpha back in January this year. So one of my favorite flagship sites was eurocenters.com, if you want to check that out. I couldn't actually get on the Wi-Fi, but maybe you can. But man, it was this Drupal 7 site that launched selling language courses all around the world in multilingual, multi-currency, and just huge, huge website that looked great, launching on Drupal Commerce in the alphas and actually helping us push this through to completion. And they were part of the international story because they were based in Switzerland. And they chose Drupal Commerce because Drupal 7 has fundamentally changed the way that you can build not just websites, but even custom built-to-suit e-commerce applications. So what we wanted to look at whenever we started the project was how can we rewrite UberCart. It was originally going to be the Uber Core initiative, focusing on an UberCart 3x, using fieldable entities that we have in Drupal 7 core, basing all of our business logic on Rules 2, and then also building all of our user interfaces through Views 3. That was the original goal, and so that's what we sort of set our minds to whenever we first met about Drupal Commerce or Uber Core back in October in 2009. And what we ended up developing is a project that does just this. It's based on these systems to create an e-commerce framework that can be used to build a multilingual, multi-currency, international language learning, sales, big, massive application. And it can also be used to sell, file downloads or books or event registrations. And there are examples I can share with you after the fact of each of these different sites being built or already being launched. Another main focus that we had when we came to the new project, going from UberCart to Drupal Commerce, was how can we shift our mindset from thinking of this as an e-commerce application to thinking of Drupal Commerce as an e-commerce framework. Because with UberCart, we had this application mindset where the big question was, what can you do with it? And so we focused heavily on out-of-the-box features and out-of-the-box usability. And that's why UberCart included in it payment gateway modules and a catalog module and file downloads modules. And all these things that really focused on out-of-the-box performance, because we thought that Drupal and UberCart needed to compare head-to-head with OS Commerce. And then Magento came along and sort of with all these e-commerce applications. But we realized that that's just not really what Drupal's about. That's not where Drupal competes. We pass Drupal off as a content management framework, and we don't try to compare it apples to apples with a WordPress or something that's really polished out of the box for a specific use case. And so we did want to think more about what can you build with Drupal Commerce as opposed to what does it do out of the box. And so that's changed our design goals a lot. We don't have payment modules out of the box. We don't have a shipping module out of the box. We don't have a lot of the feature modules like coupons or file downloads or role promotions. But we support all of that stuff by focusing on loosely coupled modules, integrating with rules, integrating with views, and giving you the ability to build the e-commerce application that you need. And so that's what we were able to do with Drupal 7 and with the contributions of others like Merlin of Chaos with his views module and Fago with his rules module and everything else that he does. And now I do feel like we have a really solid framework. With the 1.0 of Drupal Commerce, I'm very confident pitching this to clients and pitching it to you guys to pitch to your clients and training people on it because we found that it really does solve most of our use cases. And if it doesn't do it directly, well, you just need to write a custom rules condition or a custom rules action and then configure these things together. By focusing more on adaptability and less on like a big out-of-the-box application, we've really brought e-commerce a step forward on Drupal 7. So I'm really proud of what we've accomplished, and I think that we are well on our way toward achieving our goal of world domination. We have to think small, right? So our vision at Commerce Guys, at least, and the vision I try to pitch to you is that Drupal can be the #1 open source e-commerce platform in the world. There's no reason for it not to be because Drupal itself is inherently worldwide. It's inherently international. It's inherently good for business. It's good if it's good for government and good for media and entertainment and good for lifestyle websites. It's good for e-commerce websites. A lot of what they need, we need. You won't need more security than whitehouse.gov, and you won't need more scalability than MTV, and you won't need more features than Martha Stewart. Well, never mind. We've had some clients that might want more features than Martha Stewart, but everything that they need, like it fits right into the strengths of Drupal as an e-commerce platform. And so we've sort of laid our solid foundation. We have Drupal 7. A lot of our work with Drupal Commerce has also gone into getting releases out for the Entity API and Rules 2 and Views 3 and CTools on Drupal 7. And then we've also released other modules that are just generic Drupal 7 modules that really flesh out Drupal 7 as the base for Drupal Commerce. And now we're kind of here. We're building out the sort of application-type features that we're missing in core in our essential contributed modules. And when I said that we didn't have shipping in core, I didn't mean that we don't think shipping is important. Although I will point out that only 1/7 of the sites reporting in that they're using Drupal Commerce are using shipping right now. So it's obviously not as big of a deal as some people wanted me to believe it was whenever I told them that shipping wouldn't be part of the core project. But we still maintain, along with core, what we're calling our essential contributed modules. And so these are things like the shipping module and its related modules. So the last 2 weeks, Mike O'Connor from Commerce Guys tricked me into staying up all night working. With a faux client deadline, I think. But it's okay because it got the work done. I laid down about 3,000 to 4,000 lines of code to give us physical fields, a physical product module for handling, calculating the weights of orders and packages and things like that, a shipping to.x module for calculating shipping rates, and then now here at Drupal Camp Atlanta, we hope to have a shipping sprint to develop UPS and start USPS integration for that. So that's an essential contributed module set. In my mind, you don't have Drupal Commerce if you can't ship products. Similarly, you don't have Drupal Commerce if you can't use coupon codes, if you can't sell file downloads, if you don't have an address book for people to use. And so all of those modules have been developed and are in various states of release on Drupal.org, and we will continue to do that. That's my focus right now, so if you want to get the big roadmap picture, this is where I am. We have 1.0, and then now we're starting to get releases of all of these essential contributed modules, and then the next step, which I'll hopefully be sort of shifting my focus toward at the end of October, is use case specific distributions or development helper distributions or other things that are going to take Drupal Commerce and Drupal 7 and all of the dependent modules and then take some of these essential contributed modules and package them up into your private sales site or into your file download store, which I think Tim has been releasing, or Flesh Out Commerce Kickstart, which is sort of the starter installation profile for getting up and running quickly with Drupal Commerce. So we really want to start to focus on the user experience at the distribution level, or as you might say, at the application level. So if there's ever going to be a Magento killer built on Drupal, it's going to be a distribution. It's not going to be a module package that takes 5 hours of configuration to build. It's going to be an out-of-the-box experience that's been developed as one of these distributions. So when we think about building Drupal as an e-commerce platform, it takes a solid foundation, the application type features that everyone wants to compare against their favorite project or against their favorite hosted solution like Volusion or Shopify or BigCommerce. And then it also takes the full user experience that we can get from an application with accessible experts and integrators. And that's where Commerce Guys has been focusing a lot of our time, certainly in Europe and to a lesser extent here in the US, building a network of partner shops and partner integrators and experts that we've been training to know how to build and support e-commerce sites on Drupal 7. And we also announced at DrupalCon London that we'll be partnering with Acquia to do commercial e-commerce support or professional e-commerce support. So just like they support any Drupal site, they now also offer a specific support, or we are offering a specific support solution in partnership with them, focusing on Drupal Commerce specifically. So that won't actually do anything for an UberCart site, but I guess that's what their normal support contract's for, I'm not sure. So that's where we are. This is what we're building. This is the vision. We think that if Drupal is going to be the #1 open source e-commerce platform in the world, we need all of these pieces in place, and hopefully a lot of you will be a part of that. And I did want to ask, has anybody here been a part of contributing to Drupal Commerce or releasing some of these essential contributed modules on Drupal.org? Have anybody in the audience that's contributed, aside from the Commerce Guys? Crickets. Nobody at all? Oh, that's sad. I was going to give away books. I got to figure out some other criteria. All right. Oh, okay. There we go. Part of what we're doing, you can actually have one if you come get one afterwards, since you spoke of. There you go. Part of training people to use Drupal Commerce is making sure that there are materials out there. So we do have a chapter in the definitive guide, the Drupal 7, about Drupal Commerce, and I have one left to give away apparently. So come contribute. Maybe come to the code sprint later. I'll give it out there. And then also we're looking to get videos on Drupalize Me and do other sorts of training things, aside from just coming to camps and talking for 30 minutes and waving my hands around about how cool it is. So the question is, what did it take to make this vision a reality with the 1.0 and with where we are right now? And so I sort of got my world map out, because for me, a lot of these blue lines have been me. They're not all me, unfortunately. I do love to travel, but that's a little bit much. But personally, I've clocked 101,634 sky miles. I've come through Atlanta at least 9 times, I think. And I've had a lot of good wine in Paris. And I do have pictures. So this part of the presentation is equal parts, home video show and just sort of trip down memory lane for me. But I hope it's entertaining, because it shows that what's gone into Drupal Commerce has been a lot of collaboration in the Drupal community. And that's one of the key strengths of Drupal. You can collaborate with people all over the world that have full-time jobs just building and promoting Drupal in their own countries, in their own markets, in their own sectors, or whatever. So we started, as I mentioned, in October 2009 in San Francisco. We had one Parisian come in. We had Damien from AF83 at the time and Jody Hamilton from ZivTech. Amy Scarvata is here somewhere. She came down from, were you in Portland or Seattle? Sorry. Came down and joined us, and that's where we really laid the foundation for what would it take to rebuild UberCart on Drupal 7, to rethink it as this Uber core thing. That fell through, so we had a Paris development sprint in February with the new name, Drupal Commerce. And at this sprint, we had Bojan Summers from the usability team come in and Fago from Austria. And that's where we got a lot of early rules integration done and a lot of UI mockups for what would become the back end of Drupal Commerce. Bojan Summers has done a lot of the work on the new Drupal 7 backend and doing a lot of usability testing and UX mockups and all sorts of stuff. So he's been a great boon to the project. And he's out of the Netherlands. So we had a Dutch guy, an Austrian guy, myself, Mike O'Connor, and a few other guys from AF83. So several Parisians. I think that did involve a cheese and wine tasting every time we go. I love it. So then we went to DrupalCon San Francisco, and we had our first ever demo site. And I don't know how we did it, but somehow a month later after that sprint, we actually did have a demo site. But I think I was presenting at the time our vision of moving from, from UberCart to Drupal Commerce. And most of our guys from Europe got stranded by the ash cloud, if you guys remember that around DrupalCon San Francisco. So two of our guys actually did go, they rode by bus overnight from Paris to Toulouse, flew to like Toronto, to Denver, to San Francisco, and then showed up at the venue. And they were like zombies, but they came and they had a great time, and they were able to get a feel for just how awesome the Drupal community is in the US. And it really, I think that really more than anything sold our CEO now in Paris on just how awesome the Drupal community is. And so from day one, he's given me basically free rein to say, this is how commerce guys should do business with the Drupal community, because it's really important that we're engaging the community and not stepping on toes and not just going rogue or anything. So we had a great time in San Francisco, and it laid the foundation for commerce guys to really keep Drupal Commerce a community thing and keep that focus. And it was also a chance for me to take this picture, which is very dark. Sadly, this is me on the left. Gordon is the maintainer of the e-commerce project still. It still does exist on Drupal 6, and I think he's bringing it to Drupal 7. And then Lyle on the right-hand side is maintaining UberCart still. So you're the three e-commerce maintainers duking it out over lunch in San Francisco. And it was a lot of fun. Gordon's a really nice guy, actually, and it was a lot of fun to meet him. But we left DrupalCon San Francisco with still a lot of work before us. So we went to Jackson, Michigan later that year, and we brought in, again, the guys from Europe. Damien and Bojan came over from the Netherlands again, and we had tractor driving lessons on Mike's farm, and some pictures I didn't show of us firing his brother's AK-47, and target practice and killing bugs and stuff. So we had shooting and driving lessons. Bojan, actually, he'd never driven before. So we were driving down the road to Mike's house, and we actually played some Chinese fire drill and put him in the driver's seat of Mike's 4Runner and just made him drive home. And we survived. But it was actually just a long, straight road, and he was very thankful for that. We had a great time. And so, again, it's very fun doing this and collaborating with these guys. And I wish I had some pictures. Every one of our sprints has resulted in my phone being full. This is a phone. It's a case. I always get crap for it. But we always have pictures full of whiteboards scribbled with all of our plans for the next 3 months. And so I actually have like documented version control in the phone of whiteboard mockups for the next version of Drupal Commerce. So each of these sprints has resulted in a whole set of those, and then we'll go off to our separate places and show up at DrupalCon Copenhagen and announce a beta, and go from there back to Jackson and sprint some more, do some more whiteboard planning. Go back to Paris in January, and here we actually had a lot of guys come in from Europe. And this was the first time that we had like great buy-in from several countries. We had guys from Barcelona, who we had a new hire that came in basically to start working on commerce, and he spent the next 2 months tied to my hip, helping me finish up the. We announced alpha at Copenhagen, beta at. Yeah, he helped me finish up the beta for Chicago. And then we also had Rolf van der Krol from the Netherlands, Net Sensei from Belgium, Jebs and Blup from Paris, Heshijive from Brazil. So we actually flew a guy from Sao Paulo all the way over to Paris. I think he traveled 16 hours and then came, and we put him to work for like 14 hours a day, working on the beta version. And we just had a lot of great A lot of great energy there around internationalization stuff. You can't really make out their faces here, but in the back, the crowd there is milling about setting up again the wine and cheese tasting for the crew that was sitting there hacking away. So I had a great crew. I actually had learned a thing or two by the time I went to this sprint, so I set up my own cheese and wine tasting when I got home. And I had my neighbors over, and we had a great time. My favorite was the Tome de Puebla in the bottom middle right there. If you've ever had it, it's great. Made it to DrupalCon Chicago. We did get our beta announcement out. We had another sprint in June in Denver where we worked on the release candidate, and we had guys come in again from Europe. And we had CHX from Vancouver. Sheena came from TNT. And we talked a lot about solidifying a release candidate, focusing on user experience, and getting some of the contributed modules ready to go for our 1.0. And then I took a break. I sailed this around these for the next 9 days, and I thought very little, it's so dark. It's so beautiful. I was in the British Virgin Islands, and I left my computer at home for the first time in years. I don't know how long it's been, but I took a break, and when I came back, I had the energy to actually finish up the 1.0 and get it out for DrupalCon London. So that's the story, 100,000 sky miles, not to mention everybody else's. I think we probably clocked like close to 500,000 by the time we flew everybody around the world multiple times. Just, and it really made a difference. Being in person, having the whiteboard right there in front of you really made a difference. And having a company behind me committed to sending me to these places and paying for people to fly from Brazil to Paris and paying for hotels and for cheese and wine to make sure that a Commerce 1.0 happened really made a difference. And it really made it a lot of fun to do it in community with the rest of these Drupal guys. And so now we're here at Drupal Camp Atlanta, and we hope to have a 6th sprint. And today, if you want to join me, we'll be doing a shipping sprint in the Coder Lounge. I know there are at least a couple of guys that have planned on being there. And I'm happy to talk about other stuff besides just shipping. So if you want to come talk commerce, come talk a project, come talk a problem, feel free to come find me. So the grand total of commits coming in from around the world were 441 that I counted. Again, Pedro and Damien and Bojan are commerce guys. Das Peter is the guy that did Eurocenters, and he's focused a lot on multi-currency and multilingual stuff. Hesajive, he's I guess put up the first contributed distribution. So I don't know if you've seen Martplug, but it's actually a distribution of Drupal Commerce that includes features and a custom theme. And he's really tried to put some polish on it for just small boutique stores. Really like that. And then again, Mike from Commerce Guys, Rolf from the Netherlands. Randy joined us in January as well. Ozagog did our base testing work, and he was just a student that we flew to Copenhagen, so he worked for us for a couple of weeks. And yeah, so a whole list of guys. This is sort of the long tail down here all the way down through 2 commits, and then a whole group of guys that have just done 1. And so all these people have been buying into the project and making sure it works in Europe, making sure it works in Australia, making sure it works for Canadian taxes and American sales taxes in California and Colorado and Washington, where I guess Florida's really tricky too. I think Georgia's pretty simple, just 4%, right? But some places, man, it's really tricky to get taxes right. And so it's been really helpful to have these guys from all over the world writing payment gateway modules for the Netherlands, for Britain, for China, and really taking Drupal Commerce around the world in places that I would never be able to take it on my own. So it's been great to have them. And at the end of the day, what we have, I'll just briefly introduce the core components and systems of Drupal Commerce. I'm about to sneeze. All right, I'm back. Thank you. Because we are going to run out of time, so I may not get to my demo, but if you want to see a demo, come find me afterwards. Our core components and systems. So again, Drupal Commerce is a framework, and we've developed pieces to fit together out of the box in some sense of an e-commerce site, but we really make as few assumptions about your business logic as possible. We really aren't trying to bake in hard-coded assumptions about a physical product site or just a non-tangible product site or even a particular checkout workflow or a particular anonymous cart process. I mean, all this stuff is configurable through rules. It's buildable through using these entities and fields. So you have a product entity, quantity with a price field on it. You can attach any additional fields to it you need. If you're selling t-shirt products, then you would attach a size field to it, and then list a product in the back end for each one of your sizes, and that functions as your attributes like we have on the Uber cart add to cart form. Once you go from a product on the page on an add to cart form to the shopping cart, it becomes a line item. This line item also has two price fields on it, the unit price and the total price, which is calculated by multiplying, of course, the unit price and all of its components, including taxes and discounts and fees, by the quantity. Then we carry that data through to the order, and in the order total price field, you'll find again all of this data about what went into your product prices, what was the total tax collected, what's the total discount given, and then that's all calculated through this line item reference field. On the checkout form, you're able to supply your customer information to the order through these customer profile reference fields. The customer profile, in turn, has an address field. And then when it's all said and done, you have payment transaction entities affiliated with these orders. And so again, these are like all the different pieces that go into building any kind of a generic e-commerce application. But by not making them do too much out of the box, they can be reconfigured to suit your needs. So you can have, using these same components, a big store selling restaurant equipment, or you can have a store selling e-books and physical books, like we're building right now. You can also have a donation website where, just by simply attaching an additional price field to your line items, you can collect custom donation amounts through the add to cart form, and then use rules to swap that price out for the price of the donation, and suddenly you sort of have this entire donation system without writing any code at all, just by configuring these different entities and fields to work together. So those are the core entities. There's 5 of them. There's another half dozen fields or so. And then we also define these systems. So there's a product pricing system. It's sort of a central rules-based system for calculating product prices for display, including tax calculation, including discounts and fees, your price lists, your bulk purchasing, and all that stuff all happens through one central pricing system that's based on rules. And we use rules, again, in the shopping cart and checkout system to handle payment method availability, shipping rate availability, checkout completion rules like sending out emails and creating user accounts and all that stuff. And then we have a checkout system that's based on the sort of drag and drop form builder. So you can easily go from a single page checkout to a multi-page checkout and define additional checkout panes in code. So there are already several modules that can take maybe order fields that you've attached to your orders and put those in the checkout form for you. If you attach additional fields to your customer profile types, those automatically show up in checkout. And there are additional ones that'll put node bodies and stuff like that in the checkout and all sorts of stuff. So checkout's where it's at. Payments happening through there, whether you're collecting payment on-site or redirecting to a payment service. The core checkout system knows how to accommodate that and make sure that the checkout workflow completes properly, order statuses get updated, and data is kept and all that stuff. And then I do put shipping quotes up here now because there is finally a good contrib system for managing your flat rate shipping quotes or your calculated rates from UPS, USPS, and FedEx, or whatever abstract service you need or custom shipping plugin you need to develop. So that's the core entities and fields and systems that we have developed. We've got about 10 minutes to go, so let me just quickly run to the demo so I can at least show it in action once. And then maybe I'll just open the mics for a few minutes. We have mics at both ends of the auditorium. If you have a pressing question or just want to ask something very astute or tricky, feel free to head to the mic right now while I pull up my demo. What I've done is just build a local Drupal Commerce site using the Commerce Kickstart installation profile. If you were to start building a site today, just to check out Commerce, you'd probably start with Kickstart. Because it installs Drupal Commerce, it creates a product node type, it sets up the shopping cart blocks and checkout forms for you, so you can sort of get up and running with Drupal Commerce quickly. And so here I've just populated my demo site with a few Georgia-related products. We'll go to the James and the Giant Peach page because what I've done here is I have created 2 separate products on the back end, a James and the Giant Peach in paperback and one in hardcover. And by attaching this as a field to my product type, I can expose it through the add to cart form as an attribute. So I can actually select whether I want to purchase my paperback or hardcover. And if I zoom in here, you can see that by making a selection, you get the little Ajax throbber and the price field here updated. And so what happens is when you select a different attribute, it actually says, oh, this form is now pointing to a different product on the back end. This product has its own field data attached to it, whether it's price fields or image fields. If I had used a different image for my, for my book, the image field would have been replaced. Or maybe it's some other kind of attribute that you just attach to your product field. That would get swapped in automatically, and all that stuff would be, Ajax replaced all over the page. And again, you can have multiple attributes. So if I was selling t-shirts and I wanted to sell different sizes and different colors, then these options here, select lists or radio buttons, would only be populated with the options available. So you have a sort of dependent attribute hierarchy where it's only ever going to let you purchase a valid product. It's going to swap in images, it's going to swap in prices, and do all this sort of dynamic stuff on the page that you really couldn't do with UberCart, but we can do because we're based on Drupal 7 and because we're really going full bore with entities and fields and using the latest and greatest Ajax systems and all that stuff that Drupal 7 has to offer. So then once I get this in my cart, let's add a paperback, so I already have a hardcover in there. Once you have that in your cart, you can go view your cart or view the shopping cart block. Either one of those are based on views. So if you don't like something about this shopping cart form, all you have to do is come click your little cog and edit the view, and you can drop in an image. You can get rid of the quantity field. I think somebody asked that at the last con. They're selling unique products where they only ever have a quantity of one. So they would need to use the stock module, which does exist and I think does have a release, and then just take away the quantity field, and suddenly they can sell unique products with Drupal Commerce. So using views for forms, this was actually functionality unique to Drupal Commerce, but then Bojan, you saw him as one of the top contributors, he was able to take all of that code out of Drupal Commerce and put it into Views 3 itself. So now Views 3 at core can support any kind of form building. And we've integrated with that here and then added some additional buttons and whatnot to point this to the checkout page. So here I'll come to checkout, and we'll see that it looks kind of like crap having field sets around everything. So what I want to do is get rid of this field set around my shopping cart pane, because it's really unnecessary. So let's go up here to my store, configuration. I'm going to go to my checkout settings, and you can see here my drag and drop checkout form builder. If I wanted to make this a single page checkout, which maybe I do for the sake of demonstration, we will move payment up here. We'll move review to disabled, save that. I'm going to edit my shopping cart contents and make this not display in a field set at all. All right, we don't need that in review. Save. And when I go back to my checkout form, I now have a single page checkout form. The field set's gone. I can put in, you can see here my sales tax has already been included because I made a pricing rule for that last night. I'm going to put in my name and faux address. All right. Shipping is selected. I'm going to go ahead and choose an express delivery, which is going to add an additional $15. Again, billing information. There is an issue in the queue to make sure you can copy your address from one to the other. It's a little bit trickier than you might imagine, but we'll get that sorted out shortly. And then my example payment. I thought I had enabled other payments. I don't. So let's go ahead and continue. That's going to complete my payment. I'll go straight to the completion page. And now I'll have an email sitting in my inbox that says, hey, thanks for your order. If I'd been anonymous, a user account would have just been created for me and an email sent to me with the login link. If you want truly anonymous checkout, all you have to do is go configure your checkout settings again, go over to your checkout rules, and because instead of hard coding business logic, we've made default rules out of it, you can actually just disable the rule that creates new accounts for anonymous orders. So here it is right here. This rule is responsible for that functionality. If I disabled it, I could have a truly anonymous checkout system or donation system. And the same with any of these other rules. If I need to send custom emails based on the products that were ordered, or if I need to export that order data to a different system based on which file they've chosen, or whatever it is, you can bake into these checkout completion rules whatever business logic you need. I didn't have some payment options available, so let me go to my payment methods and enable some rules, because I mentioned that payment method availability is also determined by rules. Here you see that I have the example payment method enabled. Two disabled right now are AuthNet and PayPal, so we'll go ahead and enable them. AuthNet, of course, is letting me do my credit card payment on site, and then PayPal would be the redirected payment service from them. We do also have Website Payments Pro integrated to do payment on site. We haven't yet integrated Express Checkout, but that's sort of on the never-ending to-do list. And here, let me go edit PayPal. So not only can you determine which payment method is available using rules, but you can have multiple versions of the same payment method available. So if I had one PayPal account for micropayments, because they offer better rates for their micropayment accounts for orders under $12, I could set up my rule with the conditions to check the order total and only make that payment method available, for orders under $12, and then have a separate PayPal rule that showed up for everybody else that used my other account that had the better rates and whatnot. And so it's just an easy way that by using rules and tying our payment method availability to it, you can save your customers some money by using the best payment provider, the best account for the job. Let me go ahead and disable this block from the checkout pages. Pages only. All right. And so let's go back to the front page, find me a different product to purchase. I did like my Hulk Hogan Pasta Mania stuff. If you don't know, Hulk Hogan is from Atlanta. And he has his Pasta Mania line. I think was it fast food pasta? Or was it just like frozen pasta? You should really check it out if it's still available. I don't think it is, but all right. Nobody knows. Obviously, that wasn't big in Atlanta. I will purchase here some memorabilia, some Coca-Cola memorabilia. I was laughing this morning because I pulled these product descriptions straight from eBay. I really wonder how anybody sells anything on there, but by my vintage Coca-Cola truck, let's come back to the checkout form. I won't actually complete the process, but if we scroll down now, you can see that I have my other payment methods available. PayPal, of course, I would go to the next step and be redirected to PayPal to submit payment. I would come back to the same step in checkout that I left, and then the order would be completed from there. Credit card, of course, can take credit card payment on site. When it does so, it submits the payment API request immediately upon submission. There is no storing of credit card data between page loads anymore or anything like that. So it's much more secure. That's that. That's payment. And I did mention, again, running out of time here. This is a very fast demo. I apologize. But my sales tax, my Georgia sales tax, was set up as a 4% sales tax rate. And the way that was defined, if you go to your product pricing rules menu on the back end, you can see that by default, there are 3 rules created for you. One rule to calculate sales tax is the one that matters for us. That's going to find all of my defined sales tax rates and apply them to the product whenever it's loaded. And then, of course, VAT, but we aren't using that, so I could delete that. And then the top one is kind of important, but again, it's business logic that instead of hard coding, we made a default rule. The idea is whenever a product becomes disabled, if it's already in somebody's shopping cart, we don't want them to be able to purchase that product. We want to assume that product is no longer available for a reason. So this rule will basically invalidate that out of their shopping cart. But if you want people to be able to purchase disabled products, well, disable the rule. So again, another advantage of having a framework versus an application that tries to really force you into a particular mold. But here I'm going to add a pricing rule and give just a 25% discount for our Drupal Camp attendees. So let's go ahead and discount for Drupal Camp Atlanta. Oh, I'm sure that's very small for you to read, so let's zoom in. All right, so I'm going to do a discount for Drupal Camp Atlanta. I'm not going to add conditions, but I could do one based on the date. I could do one based on a coupon code. But the action I'm going to apply is just a simple line item action. What happens here with price calculation, and I'll just give the very high-level overview, is that when a product is loaded, we say through rules, hey, does anybody want to change this price at all? It has a base price that comes from the product itself. But what we do is we stick that price into a line item. We pass this line item through rules, and we let any rule manipulate it as necessary. If you invalidate the unit price on the line item, so you set it to null, not just to 0, then that product is not available for purchase. So it's the same. That's what happens with that other rule that takes away products that have been disabled. If you set it, if you multiply it by some amount, then it'll add sort of a change log note to the price and sort of build up this whole price object that knows exactly what it started at, what it ended at, and what's gone in to make this price. So you can see on the checkout page what was my total tax, what was my total discount. You have that information available for tax reporting, for coupon analytics, or whatever it is that you're doing. And all that information starts right here at the price calculation. So we take the product, we multiply the unit price of this line item by some amount, which we're going to say 0.75 to do a 25% discount. Round the half up, sure. We're going to call this a discount instead of just making it come off of the base price. and save. Then now, if I had a product in my shopping cart already, you'll see that that gets reloaded. You get an error as well. Oh, darn. That's the problem with live demos. We'll just quickly scroll down the page. But you see here that this product that was $125 is now 75% off. And my discount shows up in the order totals area. My sales tax is now applied to the discounted total instead of the subtotal. And that's the way the pricing system works. So that's how you're going to set up your discounts, your coupons, your sales tax, your VAT, and everything. And you can see that I still have not completed checkout. That's why all of my prices have recalculated. It's going to always recalculate for any shopping cart order. Every shopping cart is a complete order object now. It's not just this pseudo piece of whatever. We'll just leave it there that you can't do anything with. But you actually have a full order object, and all of this data is constantly kept up to date. So as soon as your midnight deadline hits and the discount drops, no longer an early bird registration. Even if somebody's just thinking they want to purchase, they lose their discount. So it's all instantaneous. Of course, you could configure it not to if you want to. But that's just the way that the system works, and there's a lot more that can be said about the pricing system. Unfortunately, I'm not sure that I say a whole lot about it in here, but we'll find some way to communicate more about that later. But you can always come to a Commerce Guys training, but whatever. Feel free to come find me in the Coder Lounge if you have more questions about this or anything Drupal Commerce. I didn't see anybody approaching mics, so I spent the rest of our time on a quick demo. Sorry it wasn't cooler. But come find me if you have any further questions or just want to talk commerce. I appreciate your time. Appreciate you listening to me gush about the community. Thank you for what you are about to do with Drupal Commerce and about to give back. So have a good camp.